Hi, how's everybody doing today? Clint, the audio guy here, talking about bike parts again. This time, I showed you my Weight Weenie project, my road bike that I'm trying to shave some pounds off of. And today I'm going to talk about some of the parts I'm putting on. So, to get a baseline weight, I weighed, since I don't have like a bike gram scale yet. I weighed on my bath scale, which is digital, to the tenth of a pound. And I weighed myself, and then fully clothed with my slippers on and everything, and not how I weigh after a bike ride. And then I weighed myself holding the bike. So I came up with 17.2 pounds. So it was in the 16s at one point, and then I put a comfier seat on it, and I put some heavier pedals, I think. So that took it over 17, but we're going to get it back down there. Hopefully going to see some 15s here. But anyway, these are some of the parts that I'm putting on, and let me bring the camera around so I can show you what I got here. Okay, so here's some of the parts I'm putting on. I have, as I mentioned, the Callaway Uno stem. This is a particularly light stem. I'm going 10 millimeters shorter to a 90 instead of a 100, just to shorten my reach a little bit. My back's always been an issue. Well, for the last 20 years it has. But this thing is the lightest thing you can get for the money, I think. So I have a scale here, and I weigh every part on it, and we come up with 105 grams. Let's see, 104.9. That's before I do the titanium bolts. So the bolts are substantially lighter as well. I think with all 6 of them, that shaves another 10 grams or so off of the stem. So this will be under 100 grams, which is just featherweight. I have some titanium bottle cage bolts. You save about a gram a piece on those, and it sounds like nothing, and it almost is a gram, barely makes a difference. But if you do that to every piece on the bicycle, pretty soon you're a pound lighter. So they all add up. I got this from Omni Racer. I got a bunch of parts. So this is chain ring bolts. These are alloy. There's a little collar and the bolt and the nut for it, but we're going to find out how many bolts this shaves. I haven't taken the old ones off, so I'm not sure the weight difference. I got also Omni Racer. I got these derailleur pulleys. These are titanium nitride finished races and ceramic bearings. So these not only are supposed to be a bit lighter, probably not a lot because the factory Dura-Ace pulleys are plastic, so they're already pretty light, but these are supposed to shift crisper, and they're supposed to give you something like 4 more watts of output because there's less drivetrain friction. So that's neat. I got seat post collar. This is from Omni Racer. This is actually for my gravel bike, which, oops, I didn't, cat's out of the bag. I didn't make that video yet, but we're gonna start that build. Carbon fiber bottle cage. This is just one off of eBay, generic, no name, but it looks cool, and I think it'll hold a bottle better than some of the other cages, carbon cages I've got in the past. Also, that one is going to be something like 8 grams lighter than the one that's on my road bike now. I got Omni Racer. This is also their skewers, titanium skewers. These are a ton lighter. I have to pull the old ones off to see exactly how much, but and then I'm gonna write them down on my list and put them in a spreadsheet so I can see what my total savings is. But these are super light. There are some out there that have a gram or 2 less, but there's some that you wouldn't feel safe riding your bike with. So this is the lightest one that I think will be fine and hold the wheel on securely. You don't want your wheel falling off on a big downhill and then having a safety problem. I got latex tubes. This is like a racing inner tube. They say these roll better because they're a lot more flexible, and they also they save power. Apparently, they say another like 2 to 4% of your power because of your rolling resistance being lower. But they're also lighter. So a standard tube weighs somewhere around 125 grams, and this one is 77.5 grams. So that's quite a bit of savings for 15 bucks. There's those poly tubes also now that are out, and the issue I see with those is people had a lot of failures, and I don't want to be out on the road and just get a random flat because my tube decided to blow through, my Presto valve hole or something. I don't know. I want something reliable. The drawback to these is that they don't hold air as good as a butyl rubber tube, so you have to pump them up every ride. So not a big deal. I pump up the road bike tires nearly every ride anyway, so that'll be okay because the pressures are higher. Now, for some odd reason, the second tube I got, these are the same tubes, but the second one's 83.1 grams. So we're another almost, 5.5 grams heavier. So that's annoying, but I'll put the heavier one on the back because that one's got the bigger, heavier tire anyway, the 28 on the back, and then I'll put the lighter one on the front. Let's see, what else do I got here? I got an expander plug, a very light one from also the Omni Racer, world's lightest again. But I'm having a problem getting the old expander plug out of the stem, or out of the steerer tube. I've loosened the 8mm bolt there, and I loosened the stem bolts to take any pressure off of it, and it still doesn't pull out. The risk is loosening it and having the plug fall all the way in the tube and then never being able to get it out, and then having to use an extra plug on the top. So I'm just adding weight, and then there's going to be a loose plug in the bottom of my fork rattling around every time I hit a bump. So I don't want that. It is a little touchy, so I don't know. The old expander plug may end up staying in there. We'll see. This is the factory stem cap bolt from Specialized. It's a steel bolt and aluminum top. Let's just see this on camera, what the weight difference is. Okay, we're 16.5 grams for that one, and that's a pretty light designed cap bolt, I think. 16.5. Here's the new one from Omni Racer. It's a carbon fiber cap, and I believe this is an aluminum screw, because this screw actually only sets the bearing tension. Once you lock the stem down, it no longer matters. And we got 7.1, so almost a 10 gram, 9.5 gram weight savings just in the cap bolt. So that is money well spent right there. Okay, I also got this seat post from Omni Racer. The one thing that you can usually do on a bike is go shorter on the seat post. You still have to have the minimum insert available, so it's not structurally unsound, but as long as you have a little bit of leeway, you have to measure basically where your saddle height is, how much of it's out of the frame, and then that'll tell you how short you can go on the post. From them, they tell you what the measurement out of the frame is when you order one. So I was able to go down to a 300 millimeter post. This is carbon, the matte finish. It's a single bolt. They have the graduated markings, so you can repeat your saddle height if you have to take your post out for whatever reason. You don't want to grease these. This is a carbon post. You don't want to grease them. So what I'm using is Park carbon and alloy assembly compound. So this is supposed to add grip so your seat post doesn't slip. But this one comes in at 160, what is it, 164.8 grams. And that is featherweight. There are some lighter posts out there, but they will cost you a lot more. This one's about $100, and I had a little coupon too, so I got it for about 80. So that is good gram save for the money. One big one, and the biggest gram savings I think I'm going to have on this project, are these pedals. The factory pedals were 200, well, not factory, but there were other look pedals that I have on my bike. They're 210 grams each. These are 129.4 a piece. So this is injection molded, looks like fiber reinforced nylon or carbon reinforced or something, but hopefully they'll be nice and stiff. The bearings are nice and smooth, but the one thing that they are is drastically lighter. So I'm going to try to hit some hills, and as I get better at hills, I think it would be cool to do some of those hill climbing races. Even if I'm not great, it's cool to see how good I can be and measure, you know. But this is going to drop quite a bit of weight off the bike. We're 80.6 or 80.5 grams per pedal. So that's 161 grams saved off the bike. That's a lot. Anyway, let's go to the bike and check that out. Okay, well, I got the stem on, the Callaway Uno. Got the new one-piece spacer. Got the carbon top cap in. Got all the titanium bolts on the stem in. Had to use a little anti-seize compound so instead of grease, so the titanium doesn't bond with the alloy. I cleaned the steerer tube and the bars with alcohol before I installed them, so none of the grime was in there and nothing would cause the bars or the stem to slip, because that's a big problem if it does. I got the ultralight skewers in here, and these are substantially lighter. The front skewer alone I saved 38.9 grams. The back one I saved 40.7. The stem over the Data Newton with titanium bolts, mind you. That one comes with titanium bolts. That one I saved 45 grams. Got the new bottle cage on. I like just the plain matte 3K twill carbon, or whatever they call that, 3K weave. I did the titanium bolts here. The weight savings on the cage itself, I already had a carbon cage on there. This is just a little bit lighter one. The bottle cage saved 7.1 grams. The bolts, surprisingly, the bolts saved 8 grams. So the bolts saved even more than the cage. So I got titanium bolts, again with anti-seize on there so they don't gall with the metal. These low profile titanium bolts use a very small Allen. I think it's like a 2.5 millimeter, maybe a 3. So you got to be really careful on the torque so you don't strip it out in your frame. But they're nice and low profile so the bottle won't catch on them. Some of these you got to be careful. If your cage doesn't have an inset, you know, where it goes down in, some of these bottle cage bolts that they sell for this will catch your bottle, and you don't want to be scraping up your bottle. Since I only generally use one bottle and then I fill it up because I ride in the parkway a lot, I fill it up en route. I use plastic plugs in the back instead of bolts at all. So no bolts back there. These are like 0.2 of a gram for both of them, whereas the bolts weigh, you know, 2.6 grams or something. It seems tedious, but every gram counts when you're trying to get light. So yeah, you can really see all the details on a bike when somebody's done the full treatment to it, like one of those hill climb competitors. every little thing is adjusted. Swap the pedals. This was the biggest weight savings today. The new look pedals here. I've had these for years. I just never put them on for whatever reason. The savings on those is 161.4 grams. So that was a big one. I got the titanium skewer in the back again. Oh, and then the Omni Racer carbon seat post. That one is pretty cool. It seems plenty strong. But I took apart this whole clamping mechanism. There's a couple wedge bolts in there. I took apart the whole thing, cleaned everything, cleaned the inside of the seat tube with alcohol as well, and then I put some carbon friction paste on the seat post and then put it in the frame. And it is weird. It's got some kind of granule in it or something, and it definitely grips. I had a hard time getting the post in the frame without the clamp even tightened. But just a tiny bit of that on the post just to make sure it doesn't slip when I'm riding. Seat post isn't nearly as critical as the front. If you lose your front end, you're screwed, you crash. If you lose your back end, you just stand up on the pedals, you know. But so overall, I weighed the Cell Italia Rolls seat, and it was 304 grams or something. I don't have a lighter seat at the moment, but I'm waiting for one to come in. So that will be on another installment. I also didn't get the chainring bolts on today. That'll be another time. And I didn't get the latex tubes in yet into the tires, because I may get different tires and do that at the same time. Just put the tubes and the tires on. That would be a big savings. But anyway, today, just in those couple little mods that I did, the total weight savings is 385.6 grams. So 0.85 pounds, almost a pound. So that is quite a bit. It is feeling feathery. I've taken it for a ride, and it does feel light. The stem angle changed just a smidge because I did not do the inverted stem where it's pointing up. I think this just looks like a much more natural angle for the stem, and the stem is taller stack height wise, so it is a tiny bit lower than my other stem, so I'll have to get used to that. I also pulled my seat forward just a tiny bit in the back because I'm used to riding with it slammed all the way back, and that, just the more fitment videos I'm watching, that is not the most efficient way to get power to the pedals. Most guys want the seat forward a bit from where I have it. And that shortens up my reach to the bars as well. There's a pretty big differential, is for me anyway, between the seat and the stem height. The seat's quite a bit higher than the stem, so gonna see how that feels with my back the way it is, and I'm gonna try to get used to it basically, because I don't have any steer tube to move up. I've already got some spacers in there. Well, it's, one big spacer, 20 millimeters, but I can flip the stem over if I want to, and then instead of a 7-degree drop, I'll have a 7-degree rise. So that's one way to get it up a bit. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll stop rambling. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.